Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining our session today. I'd like to present our speakers. The first one is Joanna Motaram, who works in the Global Assessments team in the British Council. Her role involves conceptualizing, delivering, and evaluating assessment solutions for institutional and government clients. Recent projects she has been involved with include the Workplace Literacy and Numeracy assessments development for SkillsFuture Singapore and a bespoke IELTS preparation course for Health Education England, in collaboration with British Council English and Exams in India. Her background is as an English language teacher and academic. She has taught English and applied linguistics and researched aspects of teaching, learning, and assessment in a variety of contexts. Now, her current passion is playing tennis, but when she has to work for a living, she's very happy to work on impactful projects which leverage the power of tests for positive educational and societal change. Our other speaker today, Mrs. Devanai Surendan, is the head of literacy department at Delta Senior School. She earned her teaching credentials and Master of Education from Nanyang Technological University and Bachelor in Special Education from Monash University. She has over 25 years of experience in the special education field. In the literacy department, she leads and oversees the teachers' work on literacy curriculum delivery. An enthusiastic educator, she believes in partnering students in learning journey, works on crafting opportunities for experiential learning for her students to deepen their knowledge and enhance their skills. One of her key areas of interest includes assessment practices for SPED students. She has successfully completed a school-wide assessment project supported by Ministry of Education SPED branch. Okay, so I'm going to turn it now over to Joanna. Joanna, would you like to unmute yourself, share your screen?
I will very happily. Thank you very much, Radost. I think I should be visible and audible.
I can hear you and I can see you. Yes, and I can see your screen. Thank you.
Then we're in a happy place. Thank you very much. Very happy to be here with you today at this particular New Directions. It's exciting to be back. And thank you very much for joining me. I'm Joanna Mottram and our special guest, Ms. Devi Surendran, for this spotlight session, where we will introduce the WPLN assessment, and Ms. Devi will report on how the assessment has impacted on teaching, learning, and life opportunities for the students she works with in her role as head of literacy at the Delta Secondary School in Singapore. I'll start with a quick overview of the WPLN and then hand over to Debbie to talk through her experience. So WPLN is delivered in partnership between the British Council and SkillsFuture Singapore Agency. And SkillsFuture Singapore is a government agency which is tasked with supporting Singaporeans with opportunities to develop workplace skills. Now, as a multilingual society, this includes the development of English language skills to allow people to participate fully in English language mediated workplaces. The program which supports this language development is called Workplace Literacy. The Workplace Literacy program includes English language training, which the British Council does not deliver, but also the assessment of proficiency, which is where we come in. Now, WPLN scores are accepted as an equivalent of high school leaving credentials for those people in Singapore who did not complete high school. So they're very important for fairness and access. Assessments are taken by adults who left school before finishing high school, maybe to enter the workforce, or maybe school wasn't working so well for them, but also by students from the special school system, as they do not follow the Singapore national curriculum. The WPLN assessments have been delivered by the British Council since January 2020, where we took over from some existing assessments. And we deliver the assessments at one of our 2 dedicated test facilities, or in training partner venues, or in special schools, or also in the prisons in Singapore. Now, WPLN test components, there are 5 major skill components: reading, listening, speaking, writing, and numeracy. And candidates can take all of those components or flexibly choose to take 2 or 3 or 4. And the WPLN is reported against the WPLN framework, which is an existing skills framework, workplace skills framework, which describes levels of workplace literacy and numeracy. And so when Debbie is speaking later, she'll be talking about WPL5, WPL4. That's on that framework there. And we can share further information about what that means later if you would like. Now I'm going to stop sharing my screen, I hope, and hand over to Debbie and really give her the floor for the next little while.
Hello, everyone. Just want to check if you're able to see the screen.
I can see your screen now very well.
Yes.
Sorry, I think I'm going to share again. Sorry, Joanna. Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you, Joanna, and hello, everyone. I'm going to share how the Workplace Literacy and Numeracy Assessment, WPLN, remains an alternative employability skills-related training, and eventually the skills learned help our students to transit to work. So I will share on how the feature of the test and the accommodations provided has benefited our students, our success stories, as well as potential employment opportunities with WPLN being recognized by some industries. And I will conclude with our resource package which we have done for our students. So WPLN credential can serve as an alternative recruitment and entry qualification for our students looking for prospective jobs or pursue higher studies in the near future. The credential is recognized and accepted as an alternative educational qualifications to the Singapore-Cambridge General Certificate of Education, GCE Ordinary Level. For context, the GCE qualification is recognized internationally as equivalent to the International General Certificate of Secondary Education, as well as the General Certificate of Secondary Education. So this recognition allows our students to use their WPLN result to gain a competitive edge with their mainstream peers. And our students also aspire to take up courses in technical education or highest learning institution for their development. However, students also need to attain a certain level of competency in WPLN scores in order to be considered for the courses. So Delta Senior School, where I'm from, is a vocational school that caters to persons with mild intellectual disability, IQ ranging from 50 to 70. Our students are 17 to 21 years old, and some of our students have coexisting conditions such as autism spectrum disorder, ASD for short, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, or ADHD. WPLN assessment maintains equity through test accommodation provided for our students. And the features of the test enables our students to prepare for the assessment with ease. The test is administered and assessed in a consistent manner. This transparency makes it very clear for how the students will be assessed and based on what criteria. The layout is simple and distinct. For instance, the option for adjusting the font size allows students to manually adjust it to their preferred size. The time for completion is made visible for students on their screen. Students also have the option to replay the listening audios before submitting their answers. So such features, to a certain extent, remove exam anxiety for a profile of students. Next, the familiarization test, which is in the British Council portal, provides transparency, and this has helped our teachers, students, and parents to be familiar with the actual assessment format, and it's used as a practice to prepare the students for assessment. For students, it's also a realistic experience of what to expect on the test day, which may improve their performance as they become familiar with the question types, format, as well as the screen that they have to navigate. The familiarization test also allows students to know their pace in answering the question, and this allows them to learn to adjust their timing to ensure that they complete the test within the time limit. At the same time, it also allows us, the teachers, to identify students who might need timing accommodation. The test also aids teachers in resource preparation. They are able to determine the variety of texts students should be exposed to and be integrated in lessons. The familiarization tests also enable us to conduct our parent workshop successfully with concrete examples and show them how we prepare our students for each segment of the test component. I should say that parents also understand the assessment format better through this. Next, we move on to the accommodations. The accommodations given, such as a familiar figure in the case of a teacher being present in the assessment room, visuals placed on the table, a prompter as in the teacher, have helped reduce the anxiety and allowed students, especially with ASD, to cope with the changes in the environment. So with the accommodations given and their improved WPLN competency level, several students were able to fulfill their personal goals of advancing their studies in a higher educational institution. So when students also perform well in the assessment, it boosts their morale, which in turn helps them to perform better in other school and work settings. And for students who went on to pursue higher education after completing the WPLN training, I should say that they are well prepared to continue their further studies, because being trained in WPL, especially in writing and speaking, is really an advantage for the students for doing report writing, project presentation that they are required to submit regularly in such institution. I'm going to go on to share a real experience shared by two of our ex-students who are currently pursuing their studies at Institute of Technical Education. One of these students is doing his internship at National Park Botanic Gardens in Singapore. And so he applied for a course in urban greenery and landscape, which required a literacy score of level 5 and above and a numeracy 8. So he says that the WPL has enabled him to write reflections and reports. He's actually required to submit a bi-weekly reflection with a word count of 600 to 800 words. So he says that the WPL literacy has definitely helped him to cope with the demands of his work. Let's look at the other student. He is a former F&B student who is currently pursuing digital and precision engineering course. He says that WPL has helped him to understand the questions and instructions given by his lecturers better, and he's able to apply all the necessary skills learned back in school. And then next, these two young adults here who are working at hotel setting upon graduation credits WPL assessment for being able to speak fluently and confidently with their customers and hotel guests. While the WPLN results may not influence the starting salaries of our students, these students are featured here have gotten levels of 4 and above, and they are able to sustain their job. And they have shared with us that they are confident being able to interact with co-workers and customers at workplace. Here's the data that I'd like to share. At year 3, most of our students graduate with full-time employment. So each year, there are about 90 to 100 students who graduate. In 2019, there were 39% of the graduating cohort who received a 555 in WPL and 34% in 2020 and 11% in 2021. So with the scores of 5 and above, some of these students who have the drive to further their education have been very successful and currently continuing their desired courses in ITE. In 2019, 13% of the graduating cohort got accepted and 4% in 2020. While it may be a small number of students, the success in WPLN assessment has really given hope and confidence for our students to pursue their dreams further. Likewise, it also indicates to us teachers that we are moving in the right direction, but we would still need to continuously review our curriculum content. Moving on to the pathway for employment, as of now, the results do not influence the employment opportunities for the students in our school, as majority of the students' job placement are determined by the school and job coaches. However, their scores may provide them the opportunity for their own professional development or considered for career advancement. So let me give you an example. In the industry setting, to drive a taxi, the entry qualification required is a WPL level 3. For a real estate agent, it would require a level 5, which is similar entry qualification for an infant educator. So the entry qualifications are consistent with student placement for higher institution for education. For instance, to study at the technical education for culinary arts, hospitality operations, and business administration, a WPLN entry of 4 and 5 is necessary. So with the expectation required at workplace, how do we prepare our students for the assessment? So I should say that in Delta Senior School, lessons are scaffolded with blended aid of technology to help engage and make learning much more adaptive for the students. Students will go through a rigorous training in WPLN that will typically run for 1 or 2 semesters before sitting for the actual assessment. ICT and assistive technology tools are used during the lesson to increase student engagement and to reduce barriers in the classroom. We also create WPL equivalent internal assessment for reading, listening, speaking, and writing using ICT tools to allow students to gain exam rigor. So over here, Nearpod app and Lectora tools are used as a practice platform to simulate the actual assessment. Nearpod is a good platform for speaking assessment where students can practice listening to the question and record their answer. So the recording of their answers are then played during lesson, and feedback can be given by the teacher to improve on their volume, tone of voice, and also the length of the answer. This platform especially encourages students to speak, for especially those who are shy to present or those with selective mutism. Okay, the CPEN featured here is an assistive tool for students who have challenges reading or not able to recognize certain words. And so this empowers students to be independent learners in the classroom. At our school, we also retrofitted several classrooms with the principles of universal design for learning. The features include reading corners to encourage lifelong reading, customized whiteboard surface tables for collaborative learning, authentic speaking stage. We also provide students with microphone stand, and speakers. Let me show you. So over here is the reading corner, and we have the speaking corner with the black chalkboard wall. We also put in all the 5 W's and 1 H. Before the student present, they could actually note down what they are supposed to present with these cues. The whiteboard surface tables, instead of having butcher papers and all that, this makes it easier for students to do discussion and then note down all their discussion points here. Right. So we also create resource packages for all the modules, and we have different approach of teaching styles introduced in class for student engagement and for mastery. So finally, I'm just going to briefly show some examples of our reading resources. This is part 1 of the reading module. Here, the teacher will do explicit teaching, and students are taught to look for keywords or contextual cues to derive the best possible answers. Similarly, cooperative learning techniques are incorporated for this segment of the reading component. The partner or group members discuss on the arrangement of the sentences, and having the sentences on strips of paper allows students to physically move the sentences up or down the sequence. So this is where the familiarization test enabled us to simulate the actual assessment format. Okay, moving on. For long text comprehension, this might look impossible for our students with learning disabilities. But to help reduce the students' anxiety or the teacher's anxiety reading such long passage, reciprocal teaching of 4-step is used. Besides, we continue the similar approach of highlighting the keywords, looking for contextual cues. Students are also taught to find out meaning of the new vocab words, and they are taught to focus on identifying the main idea of one paragraph at a time so that they can match the correct heading to the paragraph. And we also have appropriate videos on subject matter, which will be used as a trigger activities to increase student engagement. This we find that helps students to process the information on the passage better, and in turn help to boost achievement. Learning and practicing these strategies has really helped our students, especially those with high support needs, to remember the steps better, and also it gives them the confidence to complete the test independently or with minimal prompt. And with the new WPLN format, students are now exposed to a variety of text type and not limited to workplace situation. Students are also exposed to factual text, which introduce them to ideas that will broaden their horizon and help them to make sense of the world. I've come to the end of my presentation and hope our students will continue to excel in the WPL assessment and be gainfully employed and be a contributing member of the society at large. I also hope the information was useful for all of you. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you very much, Debbie. I'd just like to share a quick video with everyone. So perhaps if I can share screen now, and then we'll be able to see this. This is a video of, it will make a lot of sense. I'll just hit play. So I believe I'm sharing now, and I'll hit play.
Having good knowledge of English is an important employability skill.
I was highly recommended by my teacher, Mrs. Suren, to try out the WPLN assessments from the British Council. My ultimate goal is to further my studies, and that was my motivational factor to do well in WPLN.
To prepare the students for the WPLN assessments, we work with them on both literacy and numeracy skills.
I understand it is quite critical to master my English proficiency, as it will be a great help for me to socialize with people out there.
So thank you all for joining us and watching the video and listening to Debbie, who's been a tremendous partner in this process. Just quickly, we're doing some research at the moment into the accommodations and the effectiveness and appropriateness of the accommodations we're offering in the WPLN system. And we're very excited to see what that research will show us. I can see that we have
one second. Thank you so much to both of our presenters. I'm going to paste a few questions for you. Just a second here, so you can also see it. Oh, okay, I cannot apparently paste it. But anyway, I will just read the question for you. So the first question is, did you find that Singaporean parents find it hard to accept SEN support?
I think that's definitely a question for Debbie. She's the one with the experience with Singaporean parents.
Sorry, as in the support in for accommodation or?
The special educational needs. Did you find that parents found it a little bit difficult to accept that support for their children?
I guess because it could be happening in the other schools, but because it's a vocational schools, our parents are well aware that it's a transition to workplace. So actually, they partner with us well, and we do provide them the necessary support through parent workshops and all that. So they are always kept communicated as what is happening in school or what is happening in the industry. So there's always this two-way communication, I would say. So in that way, parents actually are on board with us, and there's always this communication process ongoing.
Great, thank you. We just had a question that came in from Daphne Ho. May I know what is the impact with the latest report from SSG on critical core skills?
I think that's definitely a Debbie, can you answer that question as well?
I actually am not so clear about what is expected. May I know?
Is this? Oh, sorry. Is this the latest? Yeah. Okay. So the critical core skills is the new focus on skills for the critical skills for the Singapore workforce, and so that's beyond the special school environment. And I'd say that there's no impact as of yet as a result of that report. We do understand that there's going to be some changes in funding in terms of the subsidies that come from the Singapore government for WPLN assessments. But other than that, I'm not in a position to say very much about any change that's going to come as a result of that announcement. I think Singapore is a world leader in supporting skills, workforce skills in the population, but also in mapping what's going to be necessary in the coming 5 years or the coming 10 years. So it's really interesting to see what's coming out of SkillsFuture Singapore Agency with their predictions. And it's really exciting to engage with the agency to understand where they think the Singapore economy is going. So that's as much as I would say.
Thank you. We just have time for one last quick question. Well, I'm sure the answer is not quick, but are there any quick or fast fixes test developers can implement currently to accommodate test takers with special needs? I think it's a great topic.
I'll answer from the British Council perspective first, and say that probably the most important thing to do when thinking about accommodating candidates with special needs is to find out what their needs are. So it's best not to make assumptions, and the British Council policy in this is to be individual in our response to requests for accommodations, which in the Singapore context has been very resource intensive, because we are delivering a lot of accommodations and we're learning a lot through that process. But I would say the first thing to do is to listen to the teachers, to the parents, and to the candidate themselves to understand how we can help them demonstrate their best ability in the test. Debbie, have you got more?
Yeah, yes, I agree with you, Joanna, because for us, more than the parents, what we will do is when the students come in year one, we will let the teachers actually monitor and observe the student before quickly jumping to accommodation and see where it's really necessary, because we would also want our students to do it independently with minimum prompt, because when they go out to work, there's not going to be much hand-holding for them. So by having said that, so the teachers will observe for about anything beyond from 2 to 3 months before they submit the accommodation. But usually the accommodation will be having great extra time for the assessment to be completed, because this new format is still something that we are exploring further. Also to have a familiar figure, especially for students with ASD, to be in the room, or to just do the behavior management. Also because sometimes the screen will not prompt you for the next question. So some of the students might just wait. So the teacher prompter can actually prompt. So that's why it's very important for the teachers who are working during the training period to look out for all these observations before we submit to British Council.
Thank you so much. I'd like to thank our participants and our wonderful speakers for such a relevant and timely talk. I mean, I think we can always talk about special educational needs with our students and test takers. I'm afraid we don't have any more time for questions. I would just like to invite and remind our participants to complete a short survey, which you can find just on the right of the screen, just on the chat. There is just one more question, which I'm just going to here, and maybe you can answer individually very quickly from Sunaina Suri. It's for Davy. Do the students do WPLN training for 2 semesters only, or are they taking English and math lessons before that too? Just a 30-second answer. Thank you.
We do for 2 years. And we do writing in the first year, reading, listening, and writing. And first year we do reading, listening, and speaking. And the second year we do reading, listening, and writing, because we need more time for writing. So yes, they do 2 years.
Thank you so much. Well, we'll be seeing everyone at all the other talks that we have at New Directions. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.